a quiet suburban home in Savannah, Georgia. It's Sunday evening, just after 6 p.m. The Langford family gathers for dinner, a rare moment when everyone is home under the same roof. Characters: Emily Langford, 28, adopted daughter, a rising star in the medical field, grounded and thoughtful. Walter Langford, father, retired construction business owner, traditional, distant. Carolyn Langford, mother, tries to keep the family united, avoids conflict. Ryan Langford, biological son, 31, chronically unemployed, bitter and competitive. Emily placed the final dessert tray on the dining table and wiped her hands on a cloth napkin. "Everything looks delicious," her mother said with a warm smile. "Emily really outdid herself," Carolyn added proudly, cutting a slice of pie. Ryan scoffed. "Yeah, I guess med school teaches baking now too." Emily smiled faintly. She was used to his jabs. They weren't new. Dinner passed with small talk, hospital stories, a few political jokes from Walter, and long silences. But something felt off. Emily noticed the tension behind her father's eyes, the way her mother kept glancing toward him. Finally, as Carolyn poured coffee, Walter cleared his throat. "There's something we should tell you," he said. "We finalized the estate. The will is done." Emily looked up, surprised. "Oh, I didn't know you were working on that." "It was time," he said flatly. "And we've decided everything will go to Ryan, the house, savings, shares in the business." Silence fell. Even Ryan looked up from his plate. "I see," Emily said, her voice controlled. "That's clear." "You've built your own life, sweetheart," Carolyn added quickly. "You have a great job, your own future. Ryan, well, he could use more support." Emily put her fork down slowly. "Let's be honest, this isn't about who needs what. This is because I'm adopted, isn't it?" Neither of them answered. Walter shifted in his chair. Carolyn looked down. Ryan smirked. Emily stood, her voice calm but firm. "Thank you for dinner, and thank you for finally being honest." She didn't slam her chair. She didn't raise her voice. She simply left the table and walked upstairs in silence. The guest room Emily had always stayed in felt colder than usual that night. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the framed photo on the nightstand, a family portrait from years ago. Her smile in the photo looked hopeful, belonging. It felt like a lie now. She picked up the picture, turned it over. No writing, just the faint hum of the house around her, and the echo of her father's words ringing in her head. "It makes sense." Flashback. Age 8. It was summer. She remembered the first time she overheard her status. "I'm just saying," a neighbor whispered to Carolyn on the porch. "Don't you think it's different, raising one of your own versus someone else's?" Emily had been hiding behind the garden wall, clutching a stuffed rabbit. She didn't understand the words, but she never forgot the feeling. From that day on, she tried harder. Better grades, fewer complaints, more smiles. Maybe they would forget she wasn't one of their own. Present lying in bed, Emily pulled out her phone and opened her calendar. She had planned to stay through the week, help her mother sort out the attic, visit old friends. Now she had already changed her flight back to Boston. As she tapped her screen, a soft knock came from the door. It was Carolyn. She peeked in, a tray in her hands. Tea, a slice of pie. "I thought you might want something before bed." Emily looked at her but said nothing. Her mother sat down, setting the tray on the desk. "Your father, he means well. He just doesn't know how to express things sometimes." "He expressed it pretty clearly tonight," Emily said softly. Carolyn sighed. "I know this hurts, but you've always been strong, independent." "That doesn't mean I deserve less," Emily replied. "Or that I should be erased from the family just because I don't share your DNA. You're not erased. It feels like it." A long pause. "You know what hurts most?" Emily added, her voice cracking just slightly. "I didn't expect the house or the money, but I thought maybe, just maybe, I was part of the plan, part of the future." Carolyn's eyes glistened. She reached for Emily's hand, but Emily didn't move. "I'm flying back tomorrow," Emily said. Her mother nodded quietly, then stood to leave. As she reached the door, she whispered, "You're still my daughter, no matter what." But Emily didn't reply. She was too tired to argue, too tired to hope. 3 days after Emily returned to Boston, the silence was still echoing louder than any goodbye. She buried herself in work, taking extra shifts at the hospital, handling back-to-back cases, skipping lunch breaks, anything to stop her mind from drifting back to that dinner table, and the moment she realized she would never truly be one of them. Then came the call. She was just stepping out of surgery when her phone buzzed repeatedly. It was her mother, missed calls, voicemails, then her father, then Ryan. Something was wrong. She called back as soon as she reached her office. Carolyn answered on the first ring. Her voice was panicked. "Emily, your father collapsed this morning. At the construction site. He couldn't breathe. The paramedics took him straight to the hospital." Emily's heart dropped. "What happened?" she asked, grabbing her coat. "They think it's his heart. Maybe worse. I don't know. The doctors are still running tests, but they're talking about surgery. And Ryan, he doesn't know how to handle any of it." Emily took a breath. Years of training kicked in. "I'll be there tonight." That evening, Savannah General Hospital. Emily walked briskly down the sterile corridor, her badge still clipped to her collar, her mind in both doctor mode and daughter mode. She found Carolyn in the waiting room, clutching a styrofoam cup with shaking hands. Ryan sat in the corner, hunched over, pale and silent for once. "Where is he?" Emily asked gently. Carolyn stood up. "ICU, they're prepping him for a bypass. They need someone to sign off, but I'll talk to the surgeon." She turned, already walking toward the nurses' station before anyone could say more. 15 minutes later, Emily returned. "They're going ahead with the procedure. It's risky, but it's the best option. He's lucky they caught it in time." Carolyn looked up at her, eyes red. "Thank you for coming." "I didn't come for thanks," Emily said softly. "I came because I know what it feels like to be alone when you need help most." Ryan stood awkwardly. "I didn't know what to do." "Then be quiet," she said, not unkindly. "Sometimes silence is better than pretending to care only when things fall apart." He didn't respond. Carolyn sat down slowly. "I don't know what we would have done without you." Emily looked away toward the window where the city lights blurred behind the glass. "You already made that decision," she said. "You wrote me out, remember?" The surgery lasted nearly 5 hours. Emily stayed at the hospital the entire time, speaking with nurses, checking his charts, answering questions that Carolyn and Ryan couldn't. She wasn't listed as next of kin, but no one questioned her authority. She wore it with quiet certainty. Not because of her white coat, but because of who she was when it mattered. When the surgeon finally emerged with an exhausted expression and a cautious thumbs up, Carolyn broke into tears. "He's stable for now," the doctor said. "We'll monitor closely the next 48 hours. He's lucky someone here knew what questions to ask." Emily simply nodded. That night she slept in a chair beside Walter's hospital bed. Machines beeped softly, monitoring a heart that had tried to quit, a heart that once shut her out without blinking. Now it depended on her. She studied his face, older, weaker than she remembered. Without the booming voice, without the authority, he looked human, fragile, and for the first time in her life she wasn't seeking his approval. She was offering her presence, her knowledge, her strength, the very things they had once overlooked. The next morning Carolyn brought coffee and sat beside her. "I didn't sleep," she whispered, "not a minute." Emily took the cup but said nothing. "I know what we did hurt you," Carolyn continued. "The will, the conversation, all of it. We were wrong." Emily raised her eyes slowly. "Why now?" "Because when your father needed help you showed up. No hesitation." "That doesn't mean I forget." "I'm not asking you to," Carolyn said, "but I am asking you to let us try." Ryan walked in then, holding a bag of vending machine snacks. He paused when he saw them. "I got him apple juice," he said awkwardly. "That's good, right?" Emily stood. "It's fine." She took the juice and checked her father's IV drip, her face unreadable. Later that afternoon, a notary arrived with a folder. "I was told to update the living will," the woman said. Carolyn handed the documents to Emily. "Your father asked for you to be added." Emily scanned the papers. It wasn't just medical directives. The will had been rewritten. Half of the estate now bore her name. She handed it back without a word. "Does it fix everything?" Carolyn asked quietly. "No," Emily said, "but it's a start." She didn't say thank you, she didn't smile, she just stayed, because they needed her. Not out of obligation, but because she chose to. Walter remained in the hospital for a week. Emily stayed the entire time. She coordinated with doctors, adjusted medications, even caught a dosage oversight the nurses missed. Each day, her presence became more central. Not just as a daughter, but as the person holding the family together. The role she had played silently for years, only now it was obvious to everyone. And that made Ryan uncomfortable. Day 5, hospital cafeteria. Ryan sat across from Emily, stirring his untouched coffee. "You know," he said finally, "Mom and Dad always thought you'd outgrow the need to prove yourself." Emily looked up slowly. "Is that what you think this is?" He shrugged. "I just mean, maybe you like being the one everyone relies on." Emily leaned back in her chair. "You're right, I did like it. For a long time, but not anymore." He frowned. "Then why are you still here?" "Because someone has to be." And because I made a choice, to be better than the way I was treated. Ryan chuckled bitterly. So now what? You get half the estate and suddenly you're the hero? Emily's voice remained calm. I don't want to be the hero. I want to be respected. There's a difference. 2 days later, Walter was discharged from the hospital. Emily helped get him home, set up his medications, arranged for part-time nursing. That evening, as she packed her overnight bag, Carolyn appeared in the doorway. You're not staying longer? She asked. I have patients waiting for me in Boston, Emily replied. My leave ends tomorrow. We could use a little more help. You have Ryan, Emily said gently. He's still your son. Carolyn hesitated, then nodded. Before Emily turned to leave, Carolyn reached into a drawer and pulled out a small box. I found this in the attic. It's from the year we adopted you, your first drawing. You wrote the word home across the bottom. Emily opened the box slowly. Inside was a faded piece of paper folded into fourths, crayon lines, crooked letters, and one small heart in the corner. Carolyn's voice broke. You made this for us, but we didn't always make you feel like you belonged. Emily looked at her mother for a long moment. I wanted to believe I did. You do, Carolyn said quietly. We just didn't show it soon enough. Emily left that night. She didn't promise to visit soon. She didn't agree to pretend nothing happened, but she took the drawing. And she didn't leave it behind. Boston greeted Emily with its usual rhythm. The distant hum of traffic, the chatter of early risers outside her apartment window, and the clinical quiet of the hospital corridors. But something felt different this time. Emily didn't rush to fill her schedule. She didn't volunteer for back-to-back shifts. She paused. She breathed. For the first time in her life, she wasn't trying to prove her worth to anyone. 3 weeks later, her phone rang. It was Carolyn, again. Emily let it go to voicemail. She wasn't angry, she was just uninterested in returning to a role she had finally stepped away from. The one where she patched every crack in a family that had never done the same for her. She checked the voicemail later. It was soft, hesitant. Hi sweetheart, just checking in. Your father's recovering well. Ryan got a part-time job, believe it or not. We miss you. I miss you. No pressure, just call when you're ready. She didn't call back. Not that day. Instead, Emily made other calls. She signed up for a volunteer program mentoring pre-med students. She met with a local artist to commission a small painting based on the crayon drawing she had carried home. She even started therapy, not because she was broken, but because she was ready to heal beyond survival. One evening, Grace, her closest friend, stopped by with wine and takeout. They sat on the couch, watching old medical dramas and laughing at the unrealistic surgery scenes. At one point, Grace turned to her. You seem lighter. Emily smiled. I feel it. For the first time, I don't feel like I'm holding up anyone else's world. Grace raised her glass. To your world. Finally yours. They clinked glasses. 2 months later, Carolyn emailed her. No pressure, no guilt. Just a photo of Walter sitting on the porch with a book in his lap and a warm note. You gave us another chance, Emily. Whether you come back to visit or not, just know, we're better because of you. Emily didn't reply right away. She didn't feel the need to. She folded the email into her journal, next to the sketch of her childhood drawing, a home she had once dreamed of. And then she closed the journal, not to forget, but to move forward. Months passed. Seasons turned over the city skyline. The trees outside Emily's apartment shifted from summer green to golden autumn. Life didn't get easier. It just got quieter, fuller, hers. She still worked long hours, still cared deeply about her patients, but there was no more weight on her shoulders that didn't belong there. One morning as she walked through the hospital lobby, she noticed a girl sitting alone in the waiting area. Barely 17, shoulders hunched, hands wringing an envelope in her lap, Emily approached gently. You all right? The girl looked up, startled. My foster mom's late. I'm supposed to meet my social worker. Emily nodded. You want some coffee? The girl hesitated, then nodded. Minutes later, they sat side by side, paper cups warming their hands. You remind me of someone, Emily said. Who? Myself. That night, Emily opened her safe. Inside was a manila folder, the original adoption papers, the outdated will, the newer revision, and the drawing her mother had given her. She looked at them, one by one. Then slowly, carefully, she removed everything but the drawing. She placed it in a new frame, modern, simple, clean, and set it on her desk. It no longer felt like a symbol of the family she had wanted to belong to. It was now a reminder of the family she chose to become, one defined by values, not blood. 1 year later, Emily sat across from a young med school graduate during a mentorship interview. Dr. Langford, the girl said, if you could leave behind one thing, one legacy, what would it be? Emily thought for a long moment before answering. Resilience, she said. The ability to stand tall when you've been told you don't belong. And to choose kindness anyway. But only after choosing yourself first. That was her inheritance. Not a house, not an account, but a life she built herself with hands that never stopped holding others, even when no one had held hers.